The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
I'm sorry, everyone. There was some kind of connection issues here, so I had to close down and restart again. So let's wait for a few seconds to let everyone join, and then we'll move forward. Okay. Before the connection problem, we were discussing this question. So I'd like to go through it again. So we have four sentences here. One is people had latent anger. Second is Shambhu's moral courage. Hungry media and rising income level. Which we have to tell which of the four are unlikely reason for Shambhu's initial success. So if you look at the passage, uh, you'll find it has been mentioned a number of times that a fear had gripped the population because of corruption, and people did not want corruption, but they couldn't take action because of certain reasons. They feared the retribution of the state. So all these things indicate that there was a resentment among people about corruption, but at that point of time they could not take any action. So that makes their resentment latent. So the people had latent anger against corruption. Now it has also been mentioned that people uh, were afraid to take action because of whatever reasons. But this guy, Shambhu comes in, he stages the protest. So it indicates that Shambhu had a lot of courage to stand up against the system. So these are the two things given in the case that can be attributed to Shambhu's initial success. Nowhere in the case has been mentioned. It has been mentioned that uh, media wanted to sell some stories. So that doesn't support the third statement that we have. And the fourth statement, rising income level. So in the case, it has been given that the people's income level was rising, but there is no direct correlation between the success of Shambhu's movement and income level of people. So 3 and 4 are unlikely reason for Shambhu's initial success. Here is the answer for that question. So let's move to the second question. So the question states, which of the following could be most likely reason for decline in public support for Shambhu? A. The con man had become sick and tired of government's inaction and against rising corruption. B. Shambhu was old and he lacked the energy to garner the same support that he enjoyed from media and public in initial stages. C. General public may have realized that Shambhu was focusing too much on indirect involvement in past incidences of corruption. Common men found it difficult to live up to the high standards set up by Shambhu. D. Shambhu's colleagues were misleading him. And E. Shambhu came from a village, while most of his supporters were city dwellers. So it is in questions like this that one should uh, refrain from taking cues from real events. So um, if you want to find the answer, you have to go to the passage itself. So in passage we see that Shambhu's initial drive was a success. The government also acceded to his demands, and then he found that government had reneged on its deal and wanted to go on a protest again. So in the given passage, we have to find what changed between these two events. So what happened in between these two events is this part. He used this opportunity as a platform to spread the message that only citizens with unblemished character should be allowed to hold a public office. So the message was a noble one. The message was a good one. He wanted the public office to be held by only by people who had unblemished character. But maybe the message was too strong for his audience. the people, the general public may have realized that Shambhu was focusing too much on uh, the past incidents of corruption, and they may thought that it would be very difficult to live up to the high standards he was setting up. So when he came to the protest next time, they might not have been that energetic in supporting him. So I would say C is the answer for this question, and here is the solution. Okay, so we should move on to next question. Uh, so I'm sorry. We have another passage here, so I'd like to wait for a moment. Yeah, here is the passage. So once again, I would request you to take a snapshot of it. We would require it later. Okay, so we have a passage here that is again inspired from real events. There is a government which is accused of doing some wrong things. The passage suggests that the government might not have been entirely blamable, but had enough skeleton in its closet too. So, uh, there was a judicial activism. People were asking questions about the distribution of public resources, and a particular resource, water, was brought into question. And here the head of the state calls in the minister, who explains him the process. He tells him that he wanted to make the sector more competitive, and new companies were allowed to bid. But he says that the prices were set for the last bid, so new bidders did not bid for price. The prices were fixed on the basis of last bid. Hey everyone, are you able to listen to my voice? Uh, is my voice going through? Okay, so I was describing the passage. So we have a country that whose government is accused of corruption, and then the last passage talks about allocation of water resource, where the minister says he allowed new competition, but the prices were set to the last year, and there was some permissions from concerned ministries. And let's move to the question. So here is the first question. Okay, so the media report suggested that Minister of Water Resources had deliberately allocated water resources at old prices to new companies and in return received some kickbacks. However, the minister denied these charges. His counter-argument was he followed the stated policies of the government, and it is very difficult to price a scarce resource. He also said that the loss that media is talking about is notional, and in reality government and citizens have gained by entry of nuclears. So which of the following is most appropriate inference? Okay, so there seems something wrong with IIM Lucknow network today. Otherwise, it works absolutely fine. So, if you look at this given passage before the question that we have here, that uh, basically basically media had the two allegations over the minister. One, he deliberately allocated water resources at old prices, and two, he received some kickbacks. So when the minister makes a counter argument, we would expect him to we would expect him to make counter arguments on these lines. I mean, these two allegations should be refuted for the minister to come clean. But we see that the minister does not talk about these allegations per se. Uh, Maybe the first allegation can be addressed by a sentence that it is very difficult to price a scarce resource, but it is not a very good argument. And the second argument, the counter argument is not given. So uh, we find that the our allegations have not been effectively countered, and the minister says in his defense that people and the government have benefited from anything if it had happened. So one one thing to look for is that it does not matter who benefits. It does not matter who gains, who loses. If an act is unethical, it is unethical. So the answer is E, because it does not matter if the benefits are higher than the notional losses or not. So here is the solution. So the minister tried to justify his action by stating that these actions have benefited people, but it is not a reason enough to perpetrate corruption of any kind. So basically that sums up what the answer should be. So with this we move to the next question. Subsequently, the minister questioned the role of media in the whole affair. He said that media cannot act like a reporter, prosecutor, and judge at the same time. Mr. Swamy, an independent observer, was asked about the appropriateness of the minister's opinion. What should be Mr. Swamy's reply? Um, if you look at the four options, I'm not counting none of the above right now. If you look at these four options, you'll find that three of them are very definite kind of options. So media has been rightly accused, media has rightly accused, media has wrongly accused. So these are 0-1 types of sentences. They can be either correct or they can be either incorrect. Uh, I mean, it is easy to say that they are correct, incorrect, but look at option B. Minister's statement may be factually incorrect. So the may word here adds a lot of ambiguity. So it could also be said that it is correct. It may be correct. It may not turn out to be correct. And from the case that we have been given, it nowhere suggests uh, that the water resources minister had really committed any corrupt act, or he had really not committed any corrupt act, and media was wrongly accusing him. So from the given case facts, we cannot be that definitive. So uh, and before that, we also see that media had allegations against the water resource minister, but it did not uh, do it did not do anything as water resource minister, suggest like prosecutor and judge. We are not sure about that. So I would go for option B, that minister's statement may be factually incorrect. Here is sorry. Here is the solution. See, you go for none of these options only when you can reject all the options. You can say that all the options cannot be true. That's why I go for none of these. But if you have something like option B, which is ambiguous in nature, then it is better to go for option B. Okay, so let's move to the next question. Okay, so looking at public unrest and discontent, government's anti-corruption branch was entrusted with the task of investigating the matter. Within a week's time, the branch charge sheeted top corporate managers and ministers for wrongdoing. Mr. Swamy was again asked to identify the guilty. Who should Mr. Swamy pick? So since the top corporate managers uh, and the minister were charged, charge sheeted, so they are definitely guilty. So that leaves head of the nation. So morally, head of the nation would not be guilty. Morally, I mean, I did not mean morally, technically. Technically, he would not be guilty because he was the one who found that who found that there was some discrepancy going on. And so uh, he asked the water resource minister to explain what was going on, and if even if under public pressure, he was the one who ordered to investigate the matter. But as the leader of the group, it falls under his charge that all his ministers should be clean, and any wrongdoing of any of his ministers reflects on the head of the nation. So he would also be guilty in some sense. That's why the answer is D. The solution that we have here differs a little bit, but the answer would be D. So let us move to the next question. So this question is not associated with any passage. Uh, the question, all the question data has been given here. So you have to find the answer from the data that is being given here. Okay, so over last 5 years, Bank of Bharat had seen the number of retail customer accounts drop by 40%, and during same period, its share price increased by 80%. And some investors think that it should not happen because share price should drop if the number of customers drop. So, which of the following best explains this factor? So, the first option that we have here, that SEBI had started an investigation on bank and cleared the bank of all charges. So it would be a good news for the bank, but let's assume that it has lost 40% of its customers. That will not explain a surge of 80%. The bank recently implemented a highly publicized program for free home loans. So this kind of free home loans kind of thing also should not increase the value of bank's share because free home loans, while might be able to attract a lot of customers and uh, will give a good publicity, but since the bank is giving away free home loans, it is not earning anything, and there are a lot of costs involved with loans also. So this should actually make the share price fall. Then the bank, uh, let's come to the C option last. Uh, let's see D. There have been many new banks which have entered retail banking business over last 5 years. So this indicates that the competition has increased, and for from a bank perspective, an increase in competition is not a good thing. You have to fight more number of players to get the same customer, so the price should again fall. The bank is known to be the best paymaster in the industry. Okay, so the bank may pay the highest, but if it gets the if it gets the equal amount of return from its employee that other banks get, so E option will also be a bad news for the bank. It should not lead an increase in share prices. So that brings us to option C. The bank has been switching its customer base from retail customers to commercial customers, which now account for 75% of bank's revenues. So, so we have here that this indicates that bank has been following a strategy. Other retail customers are people like you and me. We go for home loans, auto loans, etc. The commercial customers are businesses, companies, industries, infrastructure projects that takes large amount of loans. So the bank has a fewer transaction costs and gets a better deal on these kind of customers. So this could be a reason because the total number of customers, total customer base hasn't fallen down. It it is just that bank has a different kind of customers in its list. So that's why the share prices have not fallen. It has gone up. So see the answer for the question. Okay, so we have a question here. What is the meaning of equity share? Uh, Equity share is the market price of the bank. So let's say the shares of the bank sell at market for 100 rupees uh, when this thing when it was first recorded. Now uh, after 40% decrease in retail customers, it has gone up 80%. That means that the shares are now available for 180 rupees in the market. And when you combine all the shares with the customers and with the shareholders, you that gives you the total worth of the bank, a market value of the bank. So here is the solution. I'll try to end this session by 10:30. So let's move to the next question. Okay, so let's look at the question here. So gastric bypass surgery has been shown to be effective in helping extremely obese people lose weight. Some have lost as much as 300 pounds and substantially prolonged their lives. Despite the success of the treatment, most doctors have not embraced the surgery. So which of the following statements, if true, best accounts the lukewarm reaction of the medical community to gastric bypass surgery? So let's start. Let's start with option B. Obesity is one of the leading contributors to heart disease and hypertension, leading two leading causes of death. And C, incidence of obesity among Indian urban middle class population have been increasing consistently for last 3 decades. Now, if you look at option B and C, they talk about obesity. Uh, what are they talk about obesity, what obesity causes, or some characteristic of Indian obesity. So they are not really connected with gastric bypass surgery. So these are not the answer. D. Many patients report that losing weight through diets is ineffective since they gain weight back within 6 months. So that shows ineffectiveness of losing weight through diets. So again, not related to gastric bypass surgery. E. Most health insurance plans will cover the cost of gastric bypass surgery for morbidly obese patients at high risk of heart disease. So this option E tells about the uh, funding requirements of gastric bypass surgery. But again, it is a concern of the patient or the customer. It is not the concern of the doctor. The doctor has to recommend something that is best for his patient. So this would not be a reason why doctors would not recommend this gastric bypass surgery. So let's come to option A. Gastric bypass surgery carries a high risk of serious complications, including death. So because of these side effects of gastric bypass surgery, doctors are generally reluctant to such recommend this kind of surgery. So option A would be the answer, and here is the solution. So for the next question, we have this passage. Okay, this was private message. I think it went to all of you. So that questions would be typically of a lower level than CAT questions, but you are expected to do them in much less time than you give to a CAT question. So I hope everyone has read the passage. It is a small passage. So there is a vice president in a construction company, Marathe, and he gets complaints about a subordinate who is Kale. Kale is a project manager, and the complaint is that he fights with his colleagues. He's not a team player, and uh, cannot accept criticism. He's very emotional, feels hostile and rejected, overbearing. So Marathe calls upon another project manager, and he seems to support that kind of uh, allegation, if you call it. And yeah, he was not promoted because he was thought to be emotionally unstable, and he has 7 years of work ex, and it has been further told that Kale had an ailing wife and an old mother who did not want to stay with his wife. So he had some family problems. So here is the first question based on the passage. So you have been given 5 decisions and you have to take most appropriate sequence of decisions. Okay, so a team head of an organization or a team head uh, should take care of his subordinates, and he should look at the extreme options only as a last resort. He should not go with the most harsh things first without confirming the facts, without trying alternatives. So, based on that, we see that the decisions 3 and 4 are very extreme in nature. So, we would tend not to go with decisions 3 and 4. So, we have to select within decisions 1, 2, and 5. Marathe should uh, transfer Kale to Chennai office. Marathe should try to verify the facts from other sources as well. And Marathe should suggest Kale to visit a family counselor. Now, it is quite obvious that he should go with the 2 first, because taking any kind of action without having verifiable facts, without having uh, concrete facts, would not be a wise decision. So the first is 2. Now, it would seem like one one is a more drastic option compared to 5. So we should go with 5 first and then 1 later. But I would argue against that. The reason is this: it has been uh, told in the case that Marathe had a sorry, Kale had a family problem, but it does not anywhere indicate that his work was being affected by problems in his family. It could be that Marathe had a temperamental attitude at work for different reasons. So first he should send him. It could be that Marathe was not a team player. He could not go with the team decisions. So he should first transfer him Kale to Chennai and see if that kind of behavior still persists. If the behavior still persists, it would indicate uh, that his behavior was because of family problems, and then Marathe should suggest Kale to visit family counselor. So the correct sequence should be 2, 1, and 5. This is the solution. So I do understand that it would have been difficult to choose which would come first option, uh, the decision 1 or decision 5. But that makes these decision making questions different from other questions. You have to look at very fine nuances to get to the answer. So here is the next question. Uh, so just go through the question. I'll uh, once get back to the decisions so that you can get to the answer. Okay, so I'm going to question 8. So these are the 5 decisions. Okay, so the answer is very obvious here. It would be the fifth option, the family counselor option, because the company does not want to intrude into personal matters of its employees. So with that, here is the solution. So let's move to the next question. Okay, so let's discuss. I'll leave A and option A and C for the last. Let's begin with B, D, and E. So B says that another article published in the magazine, Xavier's Quarterly, highlighted the employees' problem at home affected their performance at work. So this is the reason that strengthens the reason to sack Kale. If it is something going on his home that the company can do nothing about, so that would strengthen the reason that Kale's performance is getting affected, and so he should be removed from the position. Option D. It was published in Xavier's Management Review that individuals who cannot work in teams find it difficult to adjust to a new location. So again, it uh, strengthens the decision to sack Kale because he is not doing well at his current position, and even if he's transferred to Chennai, he wouldn't be doing well there as well. So the better decision would be to sack him. And option E, Bhosle was of opinion that emotionally unstable persons find it difficult to get back to normal working life. So again, if he is emotionally unstable and they cannot get back to normal working life, so it is better to have him fired than to keep him around. So so that's why these are clearly not the answers. Now I'll come to option A. A Government of India study established that employee with 5 to 10 years of work experience tend to have conflicting responsibilities at home and office. However, these conflicts wither away after 10 years of experience. So, uh, option A, the major concern is Kale's inability to work. Sorry, the major concern of the organization is Kale's inability to uh, work in a team, perform his duties in a team, and not his conflicting responsibilities at home and office. So, uh, while it may be uh, because of his dual responsibilities at office at home, that is not what the head of the organization is concerned with, the vice president is concerned with. But if you look at option C, uh, Xavier Business Review, it was published that most top managers find it difficult to work in a group. So Kale is a project manager, he's a top manager, and he finds it difficult to work in a group. So you remove him, but you get another person who also finds it difficult to work in a group. So the problem really doesn't go away, and the problem is not Kale, the problem is that position. Because of that position, people do not work well in a group. So this weakens the decision to sack Kale because if you sack him and next person who comes who behaves exactly like that, you have to sack him again and the process will go on. So here is the solution. Okay, I seem to be extending beyond the given time. So I have one more passage and it should take 15 more minutes. I hope, um, I do hope that you do not have any pressing work to do. So I'm sorry that I have extended 15 more minutes. So we have one more passage. It is a really short passage. It won't take more than 1 minute. Even one minute is too long to go through it. It will take much lesser time. Okay, so we have a caselet here. You are the top person in an organization, and one of your subordinates comes to you and he says that a top performer from his team is not taking interest in work, and his attitude towards work has deteriorated. And you are aware of the problem, but now now your subordinate has come to you for help. You decide to step in. So we have the first question based on this here. So you have to tell which is the most unlikely reason for his Vandarajan Vardarajan's declining involvement at workplace. You see a lot of text here, but the question is really a simple one. So let's have a look at options here. And the first option says that he did not find work challenging enough. That is possible. He was a star performer, but but they eventually he would have realized that work is below his level, below his intellect level, and would have started taking less interest in work. Uh, since he was declared the best performance, it is possible that his friends, that other colleagues would be trying to pull him down. And see, he was not promoted. Okay, so some other person with a mediocre performance got promoted, so he saw no point in putting in too much of effort. So he declined his involvement. And it is also possible that after the superlative performance matching the inflated expectations, he would have felt burnt out, and subsequently would have taken declining involvement in work. But option E, because he was appreciated by his bosses for his achievement, he's declining his involvement. That does not seem to be logical. No one has ever quit because he was appreciated, he was praised for his efforts. So that would be the most unlikely reason. So option is B. Okay, so let us move to the next question. In the first sentence, we are being given reason why Varatharajan was uh, not working, was disinterested in his work, and now we have some options that we could take to rectify it. So, which of the following combinations would be most appropriate? See, if we look at this step 4, send him for further training on decision making under stress. You will see that nowhere in the case it is mentioned or even indicated that Varatharajan was under a lot of stress, and because of that stress, he had problems in making decisions. Rather, it says that he was disinterested in his work. It was not lack of decision making that was hindering his work, but the lack of interest. So, uh, so the step 4 would be ruled out. It should, it is not necessary, it is not required. As for other options, since he did not find his work challenging, they could be the reasons. They could be the steps to rectify this. Maybe he does not get challenging enough work, so give him more challenging work. Send him to a training department so that there is a change in environment and he learns in the process. Or ask him to take vacation. Maybe because he needs a break. He needs to change things a little. Go for a break. So the answer should be A, 1, 2, and 3. And here is the solution. See, I hope you do understand why statement 4 um, 4 should not be taken into the answer. because whatever he's facing can be addressed at some level, even if that level is maybe remote, like the 2 month vacation, they affect the problem he's facing. The problem is that he does not like his work anymore. So, but the fourth statement four, which relates to decision making problem, it is not the problem that Vadrajan is facing. He is nowhere in the case it suggests that he has some dilemmas where he cannot decide what to do, what not to do, and it is also not given anywhere that he is under a lot of stress. Rather, he's disinterested. Disinterested means he positively lacks stress. So that's why we do not take step four. So with this, we move to our last question for today. Okay, so here you overhear him being unhappy because good performance were not given due credit and poor performance were promoted. So you have to take the right step to address this problem. So first of all, define the problem. What the problem is? The problem is that poor performance are getting promoted while good performance are not getting promoted. And how do you rectify that problem? So out of the given four options, promote Vardharajan with immediate effect. So while this may take care in short term of the problem of Vardharajan, but the larger problem in organization remains. And even for Vardharajan, uh, who might be promoted this time, he might find the next promotion uh, being difficult and some uh, some lower performers getting promoted before him. So option A should not be the answer. Option C, give another assignment to Vardharajan. Again, does not address the problem of why poor performers are getting promoted and good performers are not. Give higher salary to Vardharajan. Does not address the problem. Fire Vardharajan. It's even worse. Uh, you are not uh, attacking the problem but firing someone who brings the problem to the light. So option B is the answer here. That ensure performance is objectively and transparently assessed. So here is the solution for the question. Okay guys, so that was all for today's class. I'm sorry for the network outages that we had today, and if I do not take another class, so all the best to all of you for your XAT examinations, and so here we say good night. Yes, Vinal, I'll get to the ninth question in a moment. You want the passage as well?